welcome to episode 2 of the Mnlefthanders podcast. With this episode, I hope to start finding my groove as far as story coverage and Minnesota lefty promotion. On today's episode, I'd like to address a few stories ranging from the far ends of the golfing earth to what's happening center stage and close to home. There's an unbelievable story out of the Nordic Golf Tour in Denmark. The Nordic Tour it's a feeder program for the Challenge Tour, which is even smaller. It would be what we would know in the United States as the Korn Ferry Tour. The Challenge Tour is sort of the feeder program to the European Tour, whereas the Korn Ferry is to the PGA Tour. Now the Nordic Tour is smaller than that. The Nordic Tour is a feeder program even for the Challenge Tour. So very small. This story, you're probably not going to know the golfer, but worth discussing nonetheless. Last week, Christopher Feldborg Nielsen is his name. He had what I hope to be as a springboard moment for his career, because it's just such a cool story. Here it is, as written in Golf Digest by Ryan Harrington. Playing in the final round of the final event of the 2021 NGL season, Nordic Golf League season, the Road to Europe Tour final at Lorteberg Palace Golf Club in Legere, Denmark, Feldberg Nielsen was 1 over par for the tournament as he stood on the par 5 18th tee. He made 6 birdies on the day, but a double bogey on the par 4 15th looked like it ended any real shot of winning the 54-hole event, as he was now 2 off the lead. It got even more grim when Feldberg Nielsen's tee shot found the rough, but he still was able to get a wood on the ball and try to go for the green in 2. He made solid contact and amazingly holed the shot for an albatross 2. Reports did not list how far out or what club he used. Harrington later went on to write, in pulling out the victory, the third of his NGL season for Feldberg Nielsen, he jumped to number 1 in the season-long points race and earned a promotion to the Challenge Tour for the 2022 season. Previously in his career, Feldberg Nielsen had played in 30 Challenge Tour events, having a full card in 2018, but failing to keep his card at the end of that season. Christopher's story is one that I'd like to follow. I will have updates on my podcast occasionally as pertinent ones become available related to Christopher's story, because I think it is such a cool thing to follow. Moving on here from what I think is a really cool story in Nielsen to what I can only imagine will continue to be just complete buffoonery. I feel like I want to live vicariously through Peter Pan here, but at the same time, I want to laugh at him for not just accepting that a life in pro sports might just not be for him. Johnny Manziel. Look, I get it. Growing up is hard to do. He wants to hang on to every possible athletic endeavor dream that he has, and he's been uncommonly successful at it. You don't become a professional quarterback without, being a unique person, without having a unique set of skills, right? The guy really is talented. I mean, he was going to play pro baseball too in 2015. He was going to report to, I think it was Padres spring training. He's been told his whole life that he's a good athlete. He's always had success. I bet he was picked first in gym class. I bet, just about anything he touched, a golf club, a football, a baseball, a hockey stick, whatever it was that he wanted to play, I bet he was good at it. I bet he's a great sand volleyball player. It's just the kind of person he is because he's an athlete. But we're also learning how good some of these guys are. And just because you're a very good golfer, a 1.7, in fact, and been as low as a 0.4 this year, a plus 0.4 this year, that doesn't mean that you have enough to try to make a PGA Tour event. It's really seriously difficult to do. It also doesn't help that he was a very public figure when he was in the process of throwing away his NFL career. I mean, everything he did was in the public eye. He was young and he was immature. I get that, but still, as a society, that's what we remember about Johnny Manziel. Per Max Schreiber for the Golf Channel, in July, he played in the Texas State Open and took dead last. Now, this feels like a pot shot, and I guess I get that, but I'm justifying it by using the example of Tony Romo, who also played in the Texas State Open and missed the cut, shooting 71-69. So Manziel's 79-75 two-day score didn't come close if Tony Romo missed the cut at 71-69. But the thing about Tony Romo is he's not out there trying to compete with the pros, so like it's just a different deal. I mean, he's he's played in a couple of Corn Ferry events. I think it was nationwide when he played, but that's not what he's out there trying to do. He's not like making these grandiose claims. I mean, we've all seen the match. We knew what the match was. We watched Phil Mickelson absolutely take it to Steph Curry. And Steph Curry is like known as a good golfer. I think he's like a 1 or something. And Phil Mickelson made him look silly. Like Manziel just has so far to go, and he's just so living this Peter Pan life. I think a good way to kind of analyze this is to like take a look at the gin. And like I should be a little bit more clear here and a little bit easier on him because he is a good golfer. Manziel is a good golfer. The Gin app has him at a 1.7, but he's been as low as a plus 0.4, which is super, super, super good golf for the average guy at your average club. I mean, it's club championship winning golf. It's, you want this guy on your league team, all that stuff. But it's interesting to look and see where he stacks up. James Piot, the current U.S. amateur champ, is carrying a plus 5.1 at the moment. He's the current U.S. Am champ, and he's carrying a plus 5.1. I just don't see it happening for Manziel here. It doesn't seem like it's going to be possible. Again, much like the story with Nielsen, we'll update as more information becomes available. The last story I want to discuss is the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. What's happening here is kind of an unreal story as well. I found a thread by Rob Bolton, at Rob Bolton Golf on Twitter, where part of the thread says, since the field is released on Friday, no fewer than 10 alternates either gained entry and eventually passed on the spot or withdrew early. Now, the Butterfield Bermuda Championship is typically an opposite field event from the WGC event that's supposed to take place this week, but that was canceled due to COVID concerns, and so the Butterfield Bermuda was given full status on the PGA Tour, which means also that it's worth a full slate of FedEx Cup points, as in the winner makes $500. But here we are. Since the field was released on Friday, no fewer than 10 alternates gained entry and eventually passed on the spot, or they withdrew early. So that means that 10 qualifiers dropped, 10 alternates got in, and then they dropped. This field seriously currently has 2 of the top 50 in the world in it. I just don't see, even take the CJ Cup from last week where you had, who were at the top there? You had Rory, Morikawa, Ricky, Sam Burns. Like, they got the same amount of points as these guys are going to get, and we're talking about like alternates to the alternates gaining entry here. They're actually in a position where the field was increased when it became a full-fledged tour event for the year. Was increased to 132 participants, and they're not going to fill it. I mean, it's a chance to, against a not so strong field, to really make a name for yourself. You would think that a lot of people would love the opportunity. A lot of players would love the opportunity to, take their chances against that field. But also, the COVID-19 protocol definitely played a factor here. Bermuda has a 14-day quarantine rule, and also there's a lot of U.S. expectations when you return, protocols when you return. They have, you have to test. You have to test a couple times. I think the CDC actually asks that you quarantine for like 3 to 5 days or something. So, being concerned about COVID could definitely be an issue here. But nonetheless, taking that opportunity to play in a full field event and not jumping at it seems like giving away a real chance at a life changing event. But we'll have to see how that works out as the tournament progresses. More updates to come in future episodes. I'd like to follow again that Christopher Nielsen story. Johnny Manziel will also be top of mind. I'd also like to continue to follow J.R. Smith. For those of you who are unsure, he's a retired NBA player. I think he probably has an NBA Finals championship as well. I think with the Cleveland Browns not the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and when he played with LeBron James. But he's got eligibility, and he's currently a college golfer, so his story is one worth noting and worth following as well. Thanks for taking the time to listen today, and if you'd like more content from Minnesota Left-Handers, we can be followed on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Mnlefthanders. Thanks, and talk again soon.